Lest you believe that there's no good news in 2019, today, Roger Stone, a former aide and longtime friend of President Trump, was found guilty of obstructing a congressional investigation into Russia's interference in the 2016 election in what prosecutors said was an effort to protect Mr. Trump. Yeah. So look, the trial had been going on for some time. That's the most normal photo of him we were able to find. So the trial had been going on for some time. It had been marked by multiple attempts by Stone to intimidate witnesses, intimidate the judge at times. It was a weird case, but you should know that he was charged with lying to the House Intelligence Committee, trying to block the testimony of another potential witness, and concealing reams of evidence from investigators. Prosecutors claimed he tried to thwart the committee's work because the truth would have, quote, looked terrible for both the president and his campaign. He was found guilty on all 7 counts he was charged with. And we have no idea at this point how much time, if any, he will actually serve, but supposedly he faces up to 50 years.
Oh my God. That would be so nice.
You all have actually interacted with this guy in person, right?
He's just a bad hombre, okay? As one of his favorite politicians would say. He's horrible, and I'm glad that, look, I think that there was an injustice when it comes to Trump and the clear obstruction of justice that was outlined in the Mueller report. Now, Democrats decided that they were just gonna leave it alone, even though they wasted all of their energy on this investigation. So Trump got away with the obstruction of justice. But there are all these Trump cronies who have had to pay the consequences for their illegal activity. And obstructing justice is a serious crime.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they investigated this, and I'm glad that there were consequences for at least some people surrounding Donald Trump, including Roger Stone. Roger Stone's favorite political figure from history is Richard Nixon. So great, now you get to actually pay consequences for the types of things that you thought Richard Nixon was so great at.
Yeah, it speaks to and legitimizes that if not Trump himself, which we're quite sure is guilty of obstruction of justice, that his senior advisors and his team does obstruct justice, and that there's clear evidence of that. Yeah. And I think it's really important that that is somehow used in the political campaign in 2020, depending on who goes against Trump.
Just really fast, I know this is like not the take you're supposed to have, because it's like, hey, it's good news, Roger Stone's awful, and he's not gonna face 50 years. Doesn't seem like if he did, that's way too much, right?
No.
50 years?
Yep, that's perfect.
That's a long
It's the perfect sentence. It's the best sentence, a strong sentence.
Well, white collar criminals very rarely get, as we know, significant sentences that are proportionate to the impact of their crime. In this case, it seems like the crime may not be that violent or impactful, but if you look at it systemically in terms of how it corrodes our country as we know it.
Yeah.
So from our member comments, Logan wrote in and said, I look forward to Stone being given only 5 years in jail because he is a first-time offender. So Logan, I agree with you in that he's likely to get a much shorter sentence. I don't know if it's gonna be 5 years or a little more, a little less than that. That's usually common. I mean, look at what happened with, what's the other guy's name?
Cohen or Manafort?
Yes, Paul Manafort.
Yeah.
Paul Manafort's sentence was incredibly short considering the crimes he had committed.
Yeah.
And so, but look, I'm partly joking about the 50 years, right? I don't think 50 years is a reasonable sentence, but he does deserve prison time because anyone else who was caught and convicted of obstructing justice, any average American would face a lengthy sentence.
And this allows me to make the point I most wanted to make, which is we should not just assume that he being sent to prison is the same as other people, especially poor, black, and vulnerable and working people being sent to jail. Certainly. He might end up in some penthouse in prison.
That's entirely possible. Now, he might not end up there at all if Donald Trump chooses to pardon him. And we don't have much of a response from Donald Trump yet about what happened, but there were 2 tweets tweeted. So they now convict Roger Stone of lying and want to jail him for many years to come. Well, what about crooked Hillary, Comey, Strzok, Page, McCabe, Brendan Clapper, Shifty Schiff, and Nellie, Steele, and all of the others, including even Mueller himself? Didn't they lie? A double standard like never before in the history of our capital C country. So he's just listing his political opponents Okay, you put together a list in a tweet. I can put together a list of names. What about this list? Roger Stone, Rick Gates, Michael Flynn, Michael Cohen, George Papadopoulos, Paul Manafort. Those are all buddies of yours and they're all in jail. Why do you hang out with so many criminals?
Or have served time in prison because
exactly. They've all been convicted of felonies at one time or another. Some still serving their sentences, some about to go.
Right.
And it's amazing that on the same day that this impeachment inquiry is going forward, Roger Stone, one of his former to the extent that a sociopath can have a friend, one of his best friends, is gonna be going to prison. We also find out Rudy Giuliani is under multiple investigations of multiple different charges. It's just a band of criminals from top to bottom. That's all it is.
And it is exceptional and it is spectacular and it's insane and heinous, like how this this group of criminals has taken over our presidency.
Yeah.
But we also, again, I know this is a much larger point. We have to understand what are the conditions that created this right, in this country. Like how there's other forms of deep-seated corruption, deep-seated institutional injustice that has pervaded this country, the neoliberal aspects of this country that kind of led to this populist, con artist takeover.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what led to Trump. If you want to know what led to Roger Stone, Joker is still in theaters.
I wanted to read one more member comment. And by the way, members are such an important part of this program because they help to support this show and keep us independent. And so if you'd like to have your comments read through some of our stories, you can join by going to tyt.com/join. Anyway, serial bunglers are people too writes in and says, as a Norwegian, I don't think anyone should spend 50 years in prison. However, if anyone deserves this, it's Roger Stone.
He's like
By the
number
way,
4.
What is it like to live in Norway?
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.